What is a really inappropriate question you would like an answer to? Why is there a seam on the bowel sac? All humans basically develop as females before the Y chromosome takes over in bio males. Because of this, human genitals are actually anatomically analogous. The penile head is a large clit, and the foreskin is the clit hood. The testicles are descended ovaries. The prostate is a smaller, nutrient-producing uterus, etc. In the case of the ball sac, it's because in women that body part would be the labia. The labia in developing biomales elongates and basically sticks the two sides together, making the ball sac seam. Also, the hole the testes comes out of is the vaginal hole in women. Edit. First gold post is about DCKS. I am unreasonably proud of this. I am not a native English speaker, so that might help you understand why I ask such a stupid thing. What the hell do you say when you are using the bathroom and someone knocks on the door? Occupied or I'm in here. Come back with a warrant. Edit. I've always wondered, like, do deaf people have a voice in their head? You know when you read something to yourself how you can hear your own voice like you probably are right now? I wonder if deaf people have that same thing or not because they can't hear. Edit. Honestly, I love all the responses I've gotten on this because I genuinely had this as a shower thought the other day. For those that don't understand what I'm saying or don't experience it how I do when I read things, like this post or even a book, I kind of read it to myself with an internal voice, no actual verbiage, but it's like I can imagine myself saying the words being typed. I can answer this. My ex was deaf from birth. He said it's like text or hand signing. No voice. How much TP do you use? I realize it differs depending on what has come out, but I feel like I use a lot compared to others. What height do wheelchair-bound people state in their passports? I have a standing table that I use to train my leg muscles as I don't use them a lot. Wheelchair. Obviously. When standing in it someone can measure me and I use that height on my IDs. Before I did that I just guessed and they accepted it. When you take a sh-t, do you sometimes accidentally cut it short and it feels like there's a bit left in there but you just haven't got the power to push it out? What is the masturbation policy for astronauts in the space station long term? Into a tissue. This is a very specific one for me. I'm from Northern Ireland, and there was a conflict here called the Troubles. My question is to those who joined paramilitaries. Both sides. Loyalist and Republican. Why exactly did you join and how you now feel about all the things you've done? When multiple ladies go to the bathroom together, is there a code of conduct as to what can and can't be discussed or done, like no deuces to a bus rules? There are actually fewer rules about what can be discussed in the bathroom than in public. Also, you will never find anyone more supportive, kind, encouraging, and selfless than drunk girls in a bathroom. We're talking total strangers here. They will hold your hair while you puke, tell you how much they love your outfit, how much they love you, that you're way too good for that asshole, etc. How variable is sexual stamina for most dudes? Unbelievably. It's honestly the most frustrating part about sex for me. I genuinely have no idea how long I'm going to last while going into it. Though. How the duck is one supposed to shave their own ass and is it weird to have to do that? I recommend using a DVD so you don't have to look at your asshole. Is there much variety in the taste of different people's vaginas as there is when some people talk about taste of cum? Like different acidities, maybe sweetness, saltiness, depending on eating habits and whatnot. Yes. It varies from person to person and also the taste of a person varies somewhat according to a few factors. How much they are turned on, hygiene, etc. When blind people trip, do they see things? OMG. I'm so dumb. I read this as tripping and falling and was like, obviously they can't see when they trip. If you weren't blind all the time, like if you went blind later in your life you might have visual hallucinations on for example LSD. If you were blind from the start, then no. Just the other senses hallucinate. What does it feel like to have a penis? I've always been wondering about this. Does it feel different under certain circumstances? How does it feel getting an erection? And how does sex and orgasming feel like? And how do Weil's balls work? Like, how do they move and act and are connected to body and penis? Can you tuck the penis under the balls? And if yes, how? In the movie mid-90s, one of the white kids asks the black kid if black people have to wear sunscreen. The black kid says that is the stupidest question he has ever heard, and everyone laughs. But he never answered. And I'm here wondering if black people need to, or how bad they get it if they don't. Edit. Roughly 70% of responses I have received say yes. Black people absolutely need to wear sunscreen. Melanin has very little SPF and dark-skinned people will quickly burn just as easily as light-skinned people. The other 30% say I'm black and I never wear sunscreen. No biggie. Yes, they do. And that is why when we get skin cancer, we get bad. Do you shave your pubic hair? Have you always, or is it something new? And if so, why? Almost all you see in PRN is bare hooch, and even many of the moms at the pool seem to be bare down there. Granted, I'm out of the race now. But I only encountered one in my seemingly average sample size of partners, and I just am always curious about this. I did when younger because I wore bathing suits more and had gym class and didn't want strangers and classmates seeing hair. But stubble tends to scratch against clothing and is uncomfortable to me. Plus you can get irritation and ingrown hairs. Now I just keep it shortish. Not like zero hair shave, but the lowest setting on a hair trimmer. It's just more comfortable. Full on shaving is great until 1. You sweat, and 2. It starts growing back. Do flamboyant homosexual and more reserved homosexual groups view each other differently? Do they judge each other? The true answer is yes. In my experience. Even the tops judge the bottoms. The flaming gay guys get judged by the masculine. Etc. Gay people are humans. We all judge. I have always wondered if the people that wait for marriage to have sex think it was worth the hype. My wife didn't at first after we got hitched. She liked the intimacy, but didn't really care for sex itself. Turns out she never had an orgasm. Not even on her own. It took a bit to figure out how to get it right. But I'll never forget what she said. "Whoa. Is that what it's like for you every time?" Got a whole more enthusiastic after that. Does anyone feel better or care at all when they see a random YouTube comment saying generic positive shit like "whoever reads this, you are special and amazing and I love you" or whatever? Like, I appreciate positive vibes, but positivity rings totally hollow for me in a shotgun approach. I'm always hesitant to ask because I don't want to come off as a grouch. Why is it called a blow job and not a suck job? To make inexperienced people blow your DCK instead of sucking it. How do people with no arms wipe their ass? I'm guessing someone helps them. Because if they have no arms, how did they remove pants and underwear? Is it inappropriate when your doctor insists on having his nurse take your temperature rectally, rather than orally, to refuse? It seems to be embarrassing for both the nurse and patient. Even if the reading is, according to the doctor, more accurate. You can refuse any medical thing you want as long as you're of sound mind, etc. Rectal temp is a good way to get an accurate core temperature. We do those in extremes of temperature. If your temp is more than 41 or 34, then I might want core measurements. A rectal temp that is measured in solid feces might not be a true measurement of core temperature. For most cases, an ear, oral, or underarm, axillary temp is appropriate. Don't use the forehead zappy infrared thermometers. They're crap. Did boobs have growing pains? Edit. This is my most upvoted comment now. Thanks. Also, I now know the answer is yes. They do a lot. Edit 2. Cliche registered sign thanks for the awards edit. But really thanks. This close to being not only my most upvoted comment, but my most upvoted post. So yeah, thanks again. Yes. If depicting the Prophet Muhammad is offensive to Islam and Muslims, why is it okay to name a person Muhammad? I'm not trying to get into a religious debate. I'm genuinely curious. Edit. I would like to thank everybody who took the time to answer this. Here and in private notes. I really appreciate the insight. What's it like to kill someone? Especially as a soldier in a war. If it changes you. How so? If it didn't. How do that make you feel? Edit. Phone died and now here I am at 2 AM reading all these replies. I tried replying to as many as I could write a well thought out reply for, but I appreciate all the stories being told here. It ducking sucks. Didn't bother me much at first but knocked me on my ass a few years later. Now every time a friend dies, I feel guilty for putting other people through the pain I am seeing in my friends and family. I about lost it when a friend's 16-year-old son died. I saw how the family and friends were devastated and know that I caused something similar to happen. Edit. I'm a guy. Period. How much blood are we talking about? For how many days? What do you guys do when it happens? And how can you track it? I'm hearing a lot of heavy flow, light flow notes in these replies. But if you're wondering what the actual rate of bleeding is, then I would say that when I used to have periods, a heavy flow day meant I would drip once every 5-10 seconds or so consistently throughout the day. Super light flow days could mean I didn't even notice it until I used the restroom and wiped myself. You would see the blood on TP but there were no drips. The length varies by person. But for me it was typically 1 light day, 2-3 heavy days, then 2-3 light days again. When it's regular, the period will start every 28 days after the previous period's start date, not from the end date. So you're bleeding 1/4 of the time for decades. Fun. Also, period blood isn't like normal blood. It's often brown, chunky, and smells like death. When a man ejaculates, does it feel the same as peeing? Women have a vagina separate from the urethra, but men only have the urethra for both functions. So I've always wondered if it feels the same. Napping is like water down a stream. Taking a PSS is all about relaxing a muscle. Orgasming is all about tightening every muscle in your body. In case folks want to post more such questions or want to see responses for similar questions, head over to Are Too Afraid to Ask. Question to all the men from a man. When you are taking a leak standing, do you take your balls out of your pants or do you leave them in? Semicolon. Personally I do, whichever option is more socially acceptable depending on which answer is the more popular one. I pull my pants all the way down around my ankles. Does anyone with trauma mental pain ever feel like telling everyone about what happened? Because of how crushing it is inside? Edit. I'm so glad that there are others like me who find it near impossible to keep one's trauma and guilt bottled up. Thank you all. Do identical twins have the same DCKS? Edit. Thanks for the awards. Generally they each have their own. Inappropriate race question. Why do black people in America have names that are so different? In the UK black people were named like Bob or Michael or Carl, and in America they're named Dakan or Ludoni or Ration. Is it because they wanted to choose their own names and be nothing alike white people when slavery was ended? Was it because they didn't even have names? I'm sure there's lots of black Americans who are named like Robert or so. But I've never come across a black person in the UK with a name so dissimilar from the white people. In the UK Bob Smith could be either black or white. No offense intended to anyone. I'm just curious. Why is it so hard to get my butt clean? My diet has varied widely but never seems to make things easy down there. Some people of Indian descent have a very distinctive smell, reminding me of coming. Would it be their delicious food that's affecting their sweat? Or simply food smell stuck to their clothes hairs? A couple Indian co-workers, back before home office conditions, would arrive in the morning and you can smell them clearly as they pass behind you. before you see it's them. So I'm thinking it's their BO that has that coming spicy smell to it to be so noticeable even in the morning. Indian here. It's almost certainly the food. The famous phrase "you are what you eat" comes to mind. I shower every day because I hate the smell of BO. I have friends and family members that smell really awful sometimes. When I switch to an American European diet I definitely notice a change. Asafoetida, cumin, coriander, garam masala etc are very strong flavors and smells. Once consumed, they make their way out in multiple forms. Remember, when cooking Indian food, that aroma lingers on people's clothes for a long time. It's like Starbucks or Subway, once you go in, it's hard to get that smell off you. Asafoetida, by the way, is so nasty smelling it's often referred to as devil's dung. Why can't I get my tampon up far enough? People come in all shapes and sizes, internally and externally. I don't know if it's exactly inappropriate, but I've been ashamed to say it basically. Anyways, how do you flirt? What even is it? Can you give me an example? This might seem like a stupid question, but to me I've never ever attempted to flirt. But sometimes it seems like I am flirting, I just don't ever realize it until after. I just don't get it. But I should sooner rather than later. Edit. So, I just opened Reddit and saw that this blew up a bit. I'll definitely read every comment, but I sure as hell can't reply to them all. Thanks for the help though. This isn't a stupid question. I guess it's kind of hard to explain via typing, but for me, it's always been a lot of batting eyelashes, smiling a lot, being super interested in what the person says, little compliments throughout the conversation, maybe light teasing. IDK, honestly it's never something I really concisely thought about. It was more just in reaction to the person I'd be talking to. Sorry it's not more helpful, but it's really not a dumb question. This should be a weekly thing TBH. Why the duck can I smell my own vagina when no one else can? How do people with really long nails, as in inch plus long, wipe their ass? Edit. I have attained enlightenment. The answer I've always heard. Can everyone else smell periods, or is it just my superpower? Whoa. Never even considered developing an anxiety about this. Do flat earth people watch satellite TV or use GPS? When transitioning from female to male, do they get to pick their penis size? Not really, skin is taken from other donor sites on the body to construct it, so size is somewhat limited. Here's some popcorn for the people who aren't commenting but are scrolling through looking at their questions being answered by others. I've learned a lot from this post. Can women have outie vaginas? Think of it like outie belly buttons that stick out. Can a vagina have that too? The folds of the vulva are diverse and could make someone's vagina appear like an outie. But no, there aren't outies. Vagina wise, I think that would be considered a prolapse. But it is possible to have your inner labia larger than your outer labia. What is the average differential pressure between the rectal vault and atmosphere for a fart? An African or a European vault? Is there really hot MILFs ready to duck in my area? Guys who know their friend arped someone and stayed friends with them. Which of your kids is your favorite and why? Whichever is behaving best at that particular moment. I can't pick a favorite, but I know who it isn't. I'm autistic and have a hard time with social norms, so I need to understand something. If I say something offensive on accident and the other person is deeply offended, how apologetic am I supposed to be? I feel uncomfortable apologizing more than I feel sorry for. Example. If I make a "your mom" joke and the person's mom died yesterday, I'm obviously hurting that person and will say sorry. But I had no way of knowing. So to me, "oh god, I'm so sorry, I didn't know," is good enough of an apology. But if the other person is still hurt crying, am I expected to apologize more? I personally feel it's dishonest to apologize profusely for something you have little fault in. Is there a better way to go about this? Why do I see so many black guys with long fingernails? It's not just one coke nail thing. It's on all their fingers. And it's not just old guys. Which I would understand because cutting your nails becomes more difficult as you age. But I've seen numerous. Like 20-something-year-old black guys with witch-like long nails. I just don't get it. I never see white guys like that. Hell, for me, once my nails start extending out past my fingertips, they annoy the hell out of me because they're catching on things. I can't fathom why I see any guys with claw-like nails walking around. But when I do, it's a black guy for some reason. What? It's not the majority of black guys. Obviously. But when I do see it, it's a black guy. And I've been a bit afraid to ask what the hell is going on. I work in a building that's usually full of all manner of people, and over the years it's just something I've noticed. I don't think I've seen a white dude with nails like that unless they are unable to take care of themselves. What's sex like for a person with body dysmorphia? It can be hard. Even with a long-time partner who's seen you naked hundreds of times. Sometimes it's difficult to stay in the moment and not think about how you look and being embarrassed or insecure about it. It can affect performance. Positions you're willing to be in. Are there skinny, somewhat attractive girls out there that are sorely attracted to 450 pounds dudes? Asking for a friend. They exist. Sure. But it's not the norm. Good luck though. As my dad always said, there's someone out there for everyone. Everyone has preferences. There's no doubt in my mind there is a skinny, somewhat attractive girl out there that are attracted to 450 pounds men. Did Jesus experience nocturnal emissions? A new meaning to the holy hand grenade. If my child is trans and changes their name, can I then reuse that name that they left behind? What's the etiquette for reusing a name for the second or third child? Some trans people find it offensive to have their dead name used. It evokes a certain, I don't know, dread. It would be individual. As a trans woman, for me personally, I was named after my dad. If he wanted another kid, God forbid, I'd say I would have to have moved out. College ATM. Hearing that name every day would be problematic. That is just for me. It would vary on each individual. I would find it offensive to force the trans kid to hear their dead name. How would you feel to have a pet or roommate whose name was your childhood bully taunt? It's like naming a new baby after your dead child. I work in a call center. Why do Spanish-speaking patients ask for a Spanish rep when they speak perfect English? I don't work in a call center, but I'm gonna take a stab at this. You can speak English well enough to get through a few things in life. You can ask where the bathroom is. You can call people and see what time they close. You can tell someone your address and shit. But you can't speak well enough to hold a complex conversation without that being in your native language. How can you explain the billing of this or explain medical stuff or whatever that is if you don't have a very good grasp of all the words? I don't know for sure, but this is what I think. Someone can be fluent but still prefer, or feel more comfortable, using another language. Does Bruno Mars is gay? Maybe not so inappropriate, but we've all heard of the stereotype of guys with huge lifted trucks and loud exhausts having tiny DCKS, and their trucks are used to compensate in some way. I'm curious as to where this began and if there is enough data to actually support this. It's such a funny idea. Whether it's due to a small DCK or not, I think it's more about how a man views his masculinity. As a Westerner, many men align their worth and self-confidence with their sword prowess and financial standing. If I lack in one area, I can default to the other. Penis length is out of my control. However, I can choose to spend money on material goods to give the illusion of power. I also think having a vehicle that sits higher than others is the modern equivalent of being on a high horse. It makes you appear elevated. But you can't stay mounted forever.